Thanks.
Councilmember Dodson.
Could I have quiet, please? Call council to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Dodson. Burbank.
Here.
Bogie.
Here.
McCann.
Here.
Spendy.
Here.
Voss.
Here.
Rainey.
Here.
And Mayor Jessup.
Here.
We have 6 of the council and the mayor present.
Thank you. Everyone please rise for the pledge of allegiance led by Councilmember Burbank.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening on a Wednesday evening. Doesn't happen often, but with 19 night last night, it happened back one evening. First up tonight is approval of the council agenda. There are no corrections or changes. So with that, I look for a motion to approve. Motion to approve. Motion by motion carries. Mayor Jessup, you've got some updates for us tonight?
Yes, sir. I do have 2 candidates to propose to you. After a process going through and interviewing, we have chosen Chad Lang to join the West Hills Commission and Sandra McCann-Halla to join the Charter Commission. And I ask council's approval for those candidates.
Looking for a motion to approve.
So,
This is for both, correct? You have a motion to approve this whole. And a second, do I have any discussion? Hearing none, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
I'll get you a minute, Chad. Ladies first. If you raise your right hand. I, Sandra McCann-Halla,
I, Sandra McCann-Halla,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the laws of the City of Owatonna,
the laws of the City of Owatonna,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties as a member of the Charter Commission
the duties of the member of the Charter Commission
of the City of Owatonna,
for the City of Owatonna,
which I have appointed
which I have appointed
to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God.
to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God.
Jack, come on up. I, Chad, do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the laws of the City of Owatonna,
the laws of the City of Owatonna,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and I will faithfully
We're pretty close.
Next up, we have a fire department update, 1.2.1. And Jake, if you would come up, please.
You don't have the presentation?
Clicker's not gonna work, I'll try to pull it up.
It might take a second for it to click over. Until next time.
We absolutely will.
Unless you have, you wanna go through it, whatever works for
Well,
you.
for me, it's the,
Okay.
I'm happy to talk on it, just haven't been show yet. So what it was is, I had Bonnie pull our numbers for the first half of the year. And just trying to show what some of our inspections that we are doing, calls that we've answered. Some key things being is, I think if we stay on this pace, we will meet our call volume of last year. I think almost by 100 calls, it'll be close. But we're seeing an increase in that call amount for us. Some other updates for us is, as of today, we have had 8 offers for being on call to go out and be accepted to continue to move forward for the department. So very, very happy with that. And to get the turnaround, but 50 them in class by the end of the month. And then as well as part of my budget proposal for this coming year, I am one of those. Hopefully add a person to that. So that is a very quick update. Again, I'm not able to show you everything. And I would be happy to come back next time if you wanted to see what I had.
We'll bring you back, Jake.
That's
Yes,
perfect.
absolutely.
Might as well give you something, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Next up is consent agenda, which consists of city council meeting minutes, other board commission minutes, licenses, permits, and miscellaneous items all grouped together for the council to review prior to the meeting and vote on collectively. With that, I will entertain a motion on these consent agenda items. So move. Motion by Dan to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. Any further discussion?
Mr. President,
Brent?
just need to note my involvement with item 2.4.2, the event permit for the 2026 Phil County Free Fair.
Anything else? None, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda approved. We're now up to action items, and tonight is 3.1, the 2025 audit report by Andy Grace, public accountant with KDV, and after that we will have a resolution as well.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the City Council for having me here tonight to present the audit results for the year ended December 31st, 2025. I first wanted to highlight the independent auditor's report included in the city's financial statements. And that report highlights what our role is as an auditor, but also the role of management, and that it is management's responsibility to prepare financial statements each year in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And it's our role as your auditor to provide assurance through our audit opinion as to whether we believe those financial statements to be fairly stated in all material respects. And happy to report that we are providing a clean or unmodified opinion, which is the best that we can give as your auditor. I also wanted to highlight some other communications, one being our report on government auditing standards. That report talks about our consideration of internal control over financial reporting. We don't provide any assurance assurance on the effectiveness or the design of the city's internal controls for financial reporting, rather than required to report any deficiencies that rise to either a material weakness or significant deficiency level. We did have 2 findings for this year. We did have a lack of segregation of accounting duties. The last year's report on municipal compliance to the Office of the State Auditor issues new compliance guides each year that highlight specific state statutes that apply to Minnesota cities and requires that we report any non-compliance that comes to our attention as part of our review of those statutes. And we had 1 finding to report this year related to TIP reporting. We also have in your agenda packets tonight our communications letter that includes all required communication in accordance with audit standards, provides some emerging issues with accounting standards here coming up, but also provides some financial analysis to provide some trend data to highlight here tonight. And the first graph or chart that we have is the cash and investment balance and fund balance over the last 5 years in terms of where the city landed at the end of the year in terms of financial position within the general fund. The general fund did experience an increase in fund balance going from $16 million to $17.9 million at the end of the year. The city also has a fund balance policy in place to maintain a minimum unassigned fund balance of 45% of the subsequent year's budgeted expenditures in the general fund. And based on the ending unassigned fund balance of $14.5 million, that represents 46.3% of 2026 expenditures. The city is in compliance with that policy. One more slide just to highlight the overall revenues and overall expenditures in the general fund. And the general fund has experienced surpluses. Each of the years presented with more significant surpluses going back to 2023. And here in 2025, we did see a surplus in the general fund of about $1.9 million, with revenues exceeding expenditures as well as net transfers from other funds of $863,000. The next chart highlights general fund revenues over the last 5 years. And overall, revenues in the general fund increased about $1.6 million. The majority of that increase occurred in property taxes, which increased about $1.5 million, driving the majority of that increase, with other sources remaining fairly consistent with the prior year. 85% of the general fund revenues come from 2 sources. That's property taxes and intergovernmental revenues. For 2025, property taxes were 58% of general fund revenues, and intergovernmental revenues were at 20%. But overall, we did see the general fund expenditures increase by about $2.1 million. General government had the largest increase at about $1.4 million, primarily related to increases in wages, contracted services, and an increase in IT expenditures. Public Works experienced a decrease of about $414,000 with less projects in 2025, and then Public Safety did see an increase of about $326,000 with increases in wages. The next chart highlights the budget to actual results, and this highlights City Council's to the financial statements, and that's the adoption of the budget, which provided expected revenues of $27.7 million, expenditures of $28.6 million, and after transfers in from other funds and anticipated change year, revenues $427,000 better than anticipated. The majority of that occurred in areas that were budgeted conservatively that can be more volatile from year to year, such as licenses and permits, miscellaneous revenues, as well as intergovernmental revenues. Under budget by about $1.5 million, and that's primarily the result of conservative budgeting for personnel costs, anticipating full capacity there. The next chart highlights certain enterprise funds for the city, and these present a bit differently in that these are full funds. So and that this includes the depreciation, and does provide the true cost of providing services as well as operating revenues for the fees that are charged associated with providing that service. The city did, or the sewer fund did experience a very significant surplus of about $4.1 million. statements. And so after factoring those non-operating items out, this provides the ending balance of the sewer fund in terms of financial position as well as cash and investments. And did see that cash and investments were fairly consistent between the 2 years, increasing slightly to $17.4 million, and the unrestricted net position increasing from $17.5 million to $18.1 million at the end of the year. Also highlighting the stormwater operations, this fund also experienced a surplus and has had a surplus each of the 5 years presented. The surplus was a bit larger in 2025, increasing from $687,000 to $871,000, excluding depreciation. Did have a surplus of about $1.3 million. And looking at the financial position of this fund, with the current year surplus, did see cash and investments increase in the unrestricted net position from $5 million to $5.6 million at the end of the year. The last slide here highlights the tax capacity levy and rates. And here in 2025, we did see a slight increase in the tax capacity rate, as the certified tax levy did increase at a greater rate than tax capacity. Tax capacity increased from 33.7 million to almost 32.8 million, whereas the certified tax levy increased from 18 million to $19.4 million. That's the last chart that we had with you tonight. I wanted to thank the city for all their help during the process this year, and investors like to open up for any questions.
Any questions? Dan?
On your report, page 19. Could you explain that to paragraph 20?
I'm not sure if I understand.
Sure. So page 19 of the communications letter.
Page 150 of our packet, of your report, is page 19.
This is forward 115.
Okay, so this is the management's discussion and analysis. This is not audited. This is not an audited portion of the financial statement, so I think it'll probably be more directed towards management.
Well, it talks about net position, serves as a useful indicator of government's financial position. It says exceeded our resources, exceeded liabilities, are 350 million, was our resources 250 million, capital assets, an additional portion of net position is restricted, must be the enterprise funds, 12.6 million. Okay, and then the remaining unrestricted net position, 85.3 million. So are those cash and investments that we have?
No, so this is the full picture of the overall government-wide financial statements. And so let me just pull that up, just the statement of net position there in the government-wide financial statements, just to kind of give you a better picture of that. So that is at $85.3 million. So that's essentially assets minus liabilities outside of the assets that are invested in capital assets.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Doug?
Hey Jackson, can you put it on page 80 for him? So I know this is general, but I just look and I think it took 68 years to 20,530, and 4 years later it's 28 million. That's a lot of increase. I guess my question is mostly, are you seeing that in every city? Is that pretty? We've had a lot of things happen in the last 5 years, so.
And overall, we expect revenues and expenditures to go up each year, just based on inflationary increases, and then really even if nothing were to change in terms of service level, those inflationary costs are gonna cause, expenses and expenditures to go up. and that, you know, the revenues need to go up to be able to kind of cover those increasing costs. And then, you know, in addition to that, you know, we're new, you know, as the city's auditor this year, but, you know, given the fund balance policy, I'm assuming some of those budgeted increases, you know, continue to occur to kind of meet that fund balance policy level, so they meet, you know, that those increases might be a little bit larger to be able to achieve that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Dan?
My general takeaway then is that we may not have reported things properly. Everything in order. Pretty
It's not uncommon for, you know, receipts to occur, especially in terms of like a transition auditors, you know, different audit procedures.
Thank you.
It's not.
Just you made a comment to reiterate that. What was the ending fund balance as of 12/31/25?
So ending fund balance, overall, I presented there, and the right page up here.
I couldn't find the page either. I was trying to look through it, but we're kind of down.
Yep, so the end of the year,
As of 12/31/25.
46.3%.
no, it was on the first chart there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It says like 46.3%.
So yeah, at $17.9 million total
Okay.
fund balance at the end of the year.
And that was
46.3%.
46.3%.
The unassigned portion of that fund balance, which is $14.5 million,
Okay.
represents 46.3% of the 2026
Okay.
budget.
If you roll everything together, then it's
In excess of that.
yeah. So I think that Thank you. The only other comment I would make is this was very refreshing to review this audit and the detail that you provided compared to our previous audit that we had. You provided a high level of detail, I mean, going to the point of providing 20 to 25 levels of FTEs, services, breaking them down. It was very well done. Thank you. It was money well spent. And we appreciate Abdul kind of putting the thing or setting the table, so hopefully next year will be even better. Thank you.
Any other questions? I would just reiterate what Don said. This was a very thorough audit. Excited how it came out. Hopefully we can continue that year after year after year. Appreciate your expertise. With that, we do have a resolution 73-26 of 2025 audited financial statements and the independent auditor's report. Approved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We have one ordinance tonight, 3.2.1. It's the first reading of proposed ordinance 26-07 to vacate a portion of drainage and utility easement on the Here's Edition number 4. And for that, we go to Troy Plecker. Good evening.
Good evening. So we have a request to vacate a portion of a 20-foot wide drainage utility easement that extends through the garage and a portion of the house. The property is under contract for sale, and the title company is requiring that the easement be vacated. The house was built back in 1890, and the platting of the lot happened in 1978. There are no utilities or drainage concerns within the easement, and there's no need for any drainage function within this easement, and so we did hold a public hearing. No comments from the public on that, so staff is recommending approval of the vacation of that portion of utility easement as described.
Thank you. Any questions for Troy? Hearing none, look for a motion to approve. Second by Dave. Any further discussion? This being an ordinance, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Burbank.
Aye.
Bokey.
Aye.
McCann.
Aye.
Stendy.
Aye.
Voss.
Aye.
And Rainey.
Aye.
All 6 ayes.
Thank you. Next up, we've got resolutions. First one is 3.3.1, Resolution 71-26, for a change in the KNBC storage building with the CUP amendment, and back to Troy.
All right, this is property at 1980 Austin Road. This property did receive a conditional use permit for storage units. On the property, they have built a facility for storage units. They are requesting an amendment to the conditional use permit to allow for commercial use within the building. So the previous approval did have the resolution that the sole purpose of the units would be for storage, no commercial. So they're requesting a change to that to allow some commercial use within some of the units. When we have a change of use like that, parking spaces, building code requirements, DD requirements all need to be looked at, given the size of the lot available for parking. We recommended that 1,600 square feet of the space be used for commercial. There are some conditions that are placed on that, that the 8 parking spaces be approved on the site or to a neighboring property. I think they do have a arrangement with the neighboring property to provide some off-street parking. They would need to meet building code requirements for any space that would be used for commercial and meet ADA requirements. So that'll be on an individual unit basis. We'll have to go through that design and approval process. So we did rehold a public hearing for that amendment. Everyone was notified. We held a public hearing at Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission, we got the neighbors in the Planning Commission did recommend approval with those conditions on it. So staff I believe they can have 50 square feet of signage on the building, so if there's 2 businesses in there, they would each be allowed their permitted square footage, or 3 would have 3 on there, so they would be allowed to have some signs on there for the businesses that will be located in that space.
And do you know how big each unit is?
I do not know. They're all a little different, and they can be modified within the building. So if they do have a request that a business wants, more space than what they have in there, they can so, as of now, everything is storage. So it'll be basis. Are made, any requirements are met. They've got adequate parking and signage meets ordinance requirements. So, like the strip mall would go through that same process. You can build a shell, and each of the businesses in there needs to go through their own permitting process to be approved.
Yes.
One more question. And then the 8 parking spaces, is that based off of the 1,600 square feet of the commercial space, or is that the 8, the development now requires 8 parking spaces?
No, they are not required, the off-street parking right now, but given the space that they had on site, they could get 8 parking spaces, which gave us the 1,600. Now, should they have requests for more than 1,600 square feet, let's say they got 3 or 4 businesses that want to go in these spaces and they want to increase that 1,600 square foot, which is what's so just like here, they need to come through the.
Well, we want to run business out of there.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, but this is not uncommon.
No. So I think the intent usually is that there'll be storage units and a lot of it comes down to how it was constructed. And so it is more cost effective to build them for storage units. We've had in many of the storage units, requests for commercial. In some cases that could be accommodated, in others not. And now we've gotten, some of the storage units are just designing them and building them so that commercial businesses can go in there. So you've got this, the one person operation.
Switcheroo.
A lot of times they don't know what the demand is until you actually get it up. You know, there's usually always a demand for storage, and until it's up and people can see it, and that they get some of those requests. So I can see both of those.
Just another comment, I think, you know, with what the planning commission approved going forward to recommend to us, they had a lot of stipulations saying you have to do this and this and this and this. So, you know, I think if they don't meet all of them, they have to come back again, right?
Correct. Yep.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is 3.3.2, Resolution 72-26, to accept bids and award the contract for apron reconstruction.
Just because of the size of the project and the need for some work for some of the businesses that bid on it. This is a grant project, so when we go through the federal and state grant awards that we'll get for this, the local share will be $40,615.50. This is actually a little bit more than what we projected, just because some of the portions of the project didn't qualify for federal funding, just because some of the restrictions they wanted were not necessarily what we had in place already. So there would be a little difference of $24,786 above what we had budgeted, but we do have some funding from other airport CIP projects that a surplus on some of those that we would use those dollars for. The airport, this is approval for JJ. In place, more than likely that this will be a 2027 projects, just because the timing of getting those grants very late, like September and October, before we get those grants and get them signed, and it just doesn't leave enough time to do the project. So we plan on this being a 2027 project, but awarding that to JJD for the low bid of $672,900.
Any questions for Troy? Troy, I've got one. With it being moved to 2027, is this bid locked in place?
Yes, so they would be guaranteeing this price through the 2027 season.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Dan to approve, do I have a second? Second by Brent, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We have one miscellaneous item tonight, 3.4.1, supplemental letter of agreement. That's
all right. So this does go along with that apron, professional engineering services and project management of that project. The total price on that would be $159,100. Again, apply the FAA does require us to do an independent fee estimate, just to make, double check, these prices that we get, and so we did have that done. And this, amount that they're proposing here is actually on the low side of the window of what would be acceptable for a project of this size. So to provide some guarantees, what we're paying for is actually a market value. And FAA, because they provide so much grants, do want that double checked by a third party estimator. So we did do that. It did fall within that range, actually on the lower end of that range. So staff recommend approval of a supplemental letter agreement with SEH.
Any questions on this? Hearing none, motion to approve. Motion by Doug to approve, then second. Second by Dave. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Troy. We're now up to staff report tonight. We have Ryan Brown, our IT director, and he's going to give us all kinds of updates. Good evening.
Into utilizing some Microsoft tools. As you know, we use Microsoft licensing, so that saves us money, really makes visibility a lot better, quicker to respond to alerts. On top of that, we've saved probably in the tens of thousands of dollars after separating from the previous vendor. And then re-implemented citywide phishing training. Ryan touched a little bit on this in his budget update. We've also expanded security operations with the addition of my role and having security-focused responsibilities. We have better processes for data monitoring, policy tuning. By our system. Those are spam, malicious, phishing, you name it, bad stuff that we want. There have been over 1,200 security instances that either our system has automatically prevented, or myself and the team have manually prevented just in the last year. 280 of those we have physically gotten hands-on to prevent the incidents. And then roughly 1,000 have been remediated automatically through policies. Source from phishing or social engineering. Give you one example, we saw this up in St. Paul in the last year. Stolen credentials led to that incident. So that could be an email that you type a password into, or not setting good of a password, or not changing your password enough. So the City of Owatonna practices the principle of least privileges, which prevents users who do not need access, and limiting those who do need it. Additionally, as a part of our agreement with Marco, the ACE project that you guys recently approved for us, we're refining and auditing all of our security policies to maintain best practices in our configuration policies. Systems and public services, this kind of a lot at stake here. Last thing I've covered more recently, the Minnesota water systems targeted in a recent coordinated cyber attack. Just to give you a brief overview on that situation, there were some attackers that gained remote access, ended up changing IP addresses, setting passwords on public utilities, resulting in loss of control, and in some cases, loss of function. We did get confirmation from the E2S, which is, they handle all our SCADA networking configurations and administration. Anthony Pittman from the E2S did confirm that those ports are closed, meaning that ways that the other so why all this matters, threats are constant in the news, and the volume is only going to increase. We are a small team handling enterprise level responsibility, so it just really hammers home the importance of focus on cybersecurity. And then daily attacks show risk is real, even without major incidents. So although we haven't had anything major, obviously we see the attacks that are on us, and we gotta stay on top of it. So next steps, how we can stay protected in the future. We're looking at the addition of a SIM and an MDR for faster detection and 24/7 response. SIM is it stands for Security Information and Event Management. That helps organize and manage all in one dashboard. The other one is compare logs. And that's kind of how we're doing it right now. So it's a little bit more of a manual process. So that SIM would lower response time, make it a lot easier to coordinate logs. And then the MDR is and hopefully prevent something from getting out of hand. And then finally, continuing to mature our security posture as threats evolve. Hackers are getting more creative and trying to find different loopholes. And we just gotta try to stay on top of it. One of the biggest things to do is just staff training and awareness. The smarter all our employees can be, preventing credential theft and phishing attempts, as those are our biggest things, the better. So, and then just more time dedicated to security operation. Can never have enough time for that. So, open up. That's all I got. If anybody's got questions for me.
Brent?
I just have one question for Jackson. You don't do anything with OPU at all. OPU is a separate. You work with them, you're trying to collaborate things.
We do not have a lot of collaboration. I know Ryan knows them pretty well. He stays in contact with them. He might be able to answer that.
Okay. I was just wondering if we share things with them, they share things with us to try and make sure we're covering all the bases.
I'll just add a little bit. Yes, we do. We haven't been as diligent as we have or would like to be. We're trying to be more intentional about it, but we have done some tabletop exercises with OPU, the school district. Jenna touched on that a little bit during her presentation. So yes, going forward, we are well connected. We just need to be more intentional about having some discussions around this.
Okay. And again, just having three minds work on it, three groups working on it sometimes appears to make better sense than reinventing the wheel. Thank you.
Mr. President, can I add just a little bit? I know it's gonna delay it, but I just wanna thank Jackson. When Ryan said he had a great idea of offering an opportunity for his staff to do a topic, Jackson jumped up to say, 100%. But this is the faces behind this operation. And we're so blessed and fortunate to have Jackson and the whole IT department. You really guys are really good. When you ask Jackson to do something, hey Jackson, can you help me with this? Of course. That's how he answers every time. Of course. He just has a positive attitude. Anyways, congratulations, Jackson, on just being a really decent human being.
Nice job, Jackson. Very stylish too.
And I'll say, you know, I'm a computer idiot, and when we go to the IT department, they're always willing to help, answer every stupid question that I've got, and walk me through how to get the computer going, so it is very much appreciated. Thank you. And to you as well.
I just add one more shout out to Jackson. He also stepped up and was part of our interim payroll team this past year. When our primary payroll processor was out on leave, we needed to pull together an interim team to process payroll. And Jackson was one of those employees that stepped forward and learned the process right alongside me and a few others. So that just shows his true character and his dedication to our employees, this organization, and community. So thank you, Jackson.
Okay, no, it's gonna be opportunity right here. Get the recording.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jackson.
Thank you, Jackson.
You have got to go back and get a motion on item 1.2.1, resolution appointing charter commission member. I put it up there instead of down the bottom because it was right after that appointment.
So we approved 122, but didn't do one.
We didn't do the 1.2.2.1, that resolution.
Statute. So does Sandra have to come up and get sworn in again?
She's sworn in, but we do have to send a resolution.
Look
We have to send a resolution to the courts
And
for
to
that.
approve resolution 1.2.2.1 74-26. So moved. Motion by Dan to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Don. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Jeanette. That's why she's here. Public comment, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please approach the microphone, sign in, and state your name and address for the record after being acknowledged by the Council President. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes to deliver their comments. Council Vice President Voss will be timing and hold up the hand after 2 minutes 45 seconds to notify the speaker they have 15 seconds to complete their comment. Those speaking are asked to conduct themselves in a respectful manner as they deliver their comments. Audience members are asked to refrain from reacting to comments. Council will not respond directly to comments in this venue or take immediate action in response to them. With that, I open it up.
Go ahead, Gary.
Gary Jones, 995 Ridge Road.
Good evening.
Good evening. 7 years back, my wife and I built a home on a small farm by Wells Lake in Farrell. 25-acre parcel, and our neighbor to the south had 12 acres. He had a different business. He had some paintball courses set up in the Twin Cities and on his acreage by Farrell. Paintball is where there are 2 teams of opposing players with air rifles that shoot paint pellets. And if you get splattered by a paintball, you're theoretically dead and can't play anymore. Well, he would set up dozens of enormous tackling dummies on his land that his paintball teams could hide behind as they attempted to get to the opposing team's flag or whatever. Well, Park and Rec does not have a paintball course, but never say never. The ideal course is already set up at Forest Hill Cemetery. There are hundreds of old tombstones, hills, trees, and rugged terrains and things to hide behind. It'd be ideal. Maybe every 3 months or so, Park and Rec could have a cleanup day where they wash the paint off the old tombstones and clean up the mess. I'm sure none of the veterans that came home in pieces from real bullets from Nam Korea or 2 world wars would mind. That's a perfect opportunity. Does anyone think this sounds like a good idea? Oh, no, you guys can't, I'm sorry, you guys can't respond to me. I'm gonna ask somebody this way. Paintball course at Forest Hill Cemetery. Anybody think it's a good idea? I'm getting a lot of no's. Okay. So, maybe it's a very easy place for us to reflection. Does it sound a little disrespectful? Maybe it's not a good idea to have this activity at a cemetery. Well, my question then is this. Why would paintball force to be never even be discussed? But it's okay to have an archery stand in Woodbury Park, 150 feet from the cemetery, aimed at the cemetery, shooting real arrows and not paintballs. Paintball is messy, but nobody will get hurt, yet people would be in an uproar about it. They'd be sending letters to the editor and everything else. The archery stand is using deadly weapons that can kill people within 150 feet of the cemetery. Kids ride bikes or walk through before and after school exactly when the hunter is there. People are taking in the fall.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Kate Holman and I'm a resident of Owatonna. Tonight, I am asking the Council to publicly support Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act and urge our federal delegation to oppose efforts to weaken it. For nearly 60 years, Section 106 has required federal agencies to consider how federally funded, permitted, or licensed projects could affect historic places. It does not stop development. It does not prevent progress. It ensures that tribal nations, local governments, preservation professionals, and members of the public have an opportunity to identify concerns before irreversible decisions are made. That protection matters here in Owatonna. Our commercial historic district in downtown reflects generations of local business, architecture, and community life. Its historic character supports small businesses, attracts visitors, and helps make Owatonna a distinctive place to live and work. The West Hills State School Historic District is also an important part of our community's story. Its buildings, grounds, and landscape represent generations of history that deserve thoughtful stewardship. Places like downtown and Woodbury are not simply old buildings or names on a historic register. They hold memories, stories, and lessons that cannot be replaced once they are lost. Proposed federal changes would weaken Section 106 by making some consultation and public participation optional. They could exclude certain cultural landscapes, archaeological sites, sacred places, and historic districts from meaningful review. They can also limit consideration of the gradual cumulative harm caused by multiple projects over time. In practice, decisions affecting our community could be made without our community having a meaningful voice. Strong consultation does not create unnecessary delay. It identifies problems early, encourages practical solutions, reduces conflict, and helps avoid costly redesigns and lawsuits. Historic preservation is also an economic investment. Historic places strengthen neighborhoods, support tourism and local businesses, and preserve the character that communities cannot manufacture after it has disappeared. I respectfully ask the City Council to adopt a resolution supporting strong Section 106 protections and meaningful public participation. I also ask the Council to send that resolution to Minnesota's congressional delegation and appropriate federal officials. Owatonna deserves a voice when federal actions could affect our historic downtown commercial district, West Hills, or any other place that helps tell our community's story. Thank you.
Anyone else this evening?
Melissa Zimmerman. Good evening.
Good evening.
Tonight I'd like to touch on a couple of different topics. First, thank you to everyone who participated in 1990. I wasn't able to attend, but for the last 24 hours I've heard about my kids playing soccer with our police officers. It sounds like it was a wonderful evening. Thank you to City Council for prioritizing this event and to our police and fire departments for taking time to connect with residents. Regardless of politics, I hope they know how much they are appreciated. As you work through the budget, I'd also encourage you to invest in equipment for the North Country Neighborhood Park, where we hosted 19 Night. It's been nearly a decade since the city acknowledged the need for a park there. The Minnesota DNR offers grants specifically for projects like this. Another highlight to my children's summer has been catching fireflies. This is the first year that they have seen one, let alone caught them. Along with many neighborhood kids, they have spent countless hours outside catching bugs, fireflies, frogs, and butterflies. It's been wonderful to watch. I believe we've seen so much wildlife this year because the city chose not to spray for mosquitoes. Yes, the mosquitoes can practically carry us away like every other year, but I am grateful we didn't blanket our parks and our neighborhoods with chemicals. As I shared during Park and Rec meetings, we stopped spraying our own yard years ago, and instead planted flowers to support bees and butterflies. This year, we even had a native Minnesota bumblebee colony make its home in our landscaping. Most chemicals don't solve the underlying problem. They harm beneficial insects and contaminate our water, and have been linked to significant health concerns. Thank you for the decision, and I hope we can continue to look for ways to reduce unnecessary chemical use. Finally, I grew up in the 90s. Some of you probably remember the public service announcement, "It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are?" I was outside catching fireflies. I also grew up hunting and fishing. I married into a hunting family, and today as a mom to like 1 million kids, I understand those traditions. But I would never take my children to a park and tell them to go play while I hunt nearby. It's not safe and it's not ethical. My husband drives more than 200 miles to hunt. We talk about applying for a permit to hunt in our city parks, and he won't even consider it because he doesn't believe it's ethical or safe to hunt that close to homes and where people gather. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. We've all heard Gary speak about this 65 times, and in case you need to hear it one more time, I agree with him. Our parks simply aren't large enough for hunting to safely coexist with park users. If the city chooses to continue to allow hunting, at a minimum, limit it to 1 or 2 designated weekends and close the affected parks during those times. You've been making thoughtful decisions to protect our residents. I hope you'll consider adding this one to the list too. And as far as 15th Street goes, please close it and protect the kids. Thank you.
Anyone else this evening? Seeing no one come forward, I'll close the public comment. We're now up to council comment. First up, Councilmember Burbank.
Nothing more tonight.
Councilmember McCann.
Just to kind of reiterate what we talked about, the neighborhood night out, I think it was very successful, talked to a lot of residents. Thank you to Jen and Mr. Volke for actually going to mine. I set it up when I wasn't even there, because I was at other locations. But I think it was very, very useful, and some very nice questions asked, very good dialogue. In fact, I think we got back to the police station, because I was running with the police department about 8:15, 8:30, so lots of dialogue going. And I got to meet Peyton, our guy that's the CSO who's going through that program that Captain talked about. I think he's a good kid, and I think he'll turn out very well. So.
So get down there, it should be a good night. And on Sunday, Sunday evening, there's a church service sponsored by all the churches in town. It should be a great time. At 4 to 6, they have kids events, there'll be food trucks, and then at 6 to 8, there'll be a worship service, which should be really good. So, hope to see you all there.
Councilmember Volke.
Yeah, I would just like to piggyback a little bit on what Mr. Zimmerman was talking about with the mosquito spraying. We've certainly cut back this year, and I'm wondering if the council would consider putting including Ms. Leanne Alt for a study session, if nothing else, just to get her presentation out there and the background and the research that she has done regarding mosquitoes and how, in my opinion, I agree with a lot of what Ms. Alt says, It's mosquitoes, residents kill mosquitoes, it kills everything, whether it's the lantern flies, the butterflies. I wonder if we could have her here to run this presentation. If nothing else, to record it and the public look at it and watch it at their leisure. That's all.
Like I read last night, I just want to reiterate what parties around town last night, and with police and fire escorting some council members around and Administrator Tuma as well. You know, it just showed what a fantastic community we have here in Owatonna. You know, every one of those gatherings that we were able to go to, everybody was welcoming. You know, have some food, have something to drink, whatever it was. Ask us to come up and play games with them. It was just a really, really good opportunity to get out and meet people, talk to people.
The closure that we had earlier in the year, June pretty much was taken away. And Eric Anderson reported to me last week the numbers for July, which I think opened the years before July 4th. And so through that day, through the end, we typically for the whole season have about 30, 31, 32,000 guests. So for the month of July, we had over 21,000 visits out there.
To be in the neighborhoods, beautiful night, absolutely perfect night for it. And so thank you to the police department for supporting council, riding along, and as well as the fire department. It's always fun to be out with the police and the firefighters. It's a fun evening for us. So that is all I have tonight. We have no business before us, so I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
So,
motion by Dan to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second by Brent. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.